everybody, it's Faith, and today's video is a collaboration with a bunch of other homeschool moms here on YouTube. And today what we are doing is we're going to be debunking some myths that you may have heard about homeschooling. So if you're new to homeschooling, maybe you're checking it out for this fall, but you probably have heard some things that you're a little concerned about. Well, we're gonna go ahead and address some of those today and just let you know that they are not true. So if you're interested to hear what I and what all the other moms have to say, be sure to check out the playlist because we're all gonna be talking about different myths. So you never know which one you might hear. The particular myth that I am addressing today is that public school at home and homeschool are the same thing. I hate to break it to you, well, actually, no, I don't. They're really not the same thing. In fact, public school at home and homeschool are very, very different. But today we're just going to talk about a couple of the major differences. Off the bat, biggest differences between public school at home and homeschool is that public school is a group of children who are aiming towards a specific goal. So they are presented information that they need to learn and memorize and then take a test and do well, hopefully, on that test. And then after the test is over, they can move on to something else. So they're teaching them how to study for tests, take tests, and at least maintain that information long enough to take the test. Let's be honest, not everybody retains it after those tests are over. Just being honest. In homeschool, it's not necessarily motivated by tests. Now, every homeschool is gonna look a little bit different. We all kind of do our own thing, but a lot of times we're not motivated by test as much as we are by passion. So we want our children to be really passionate about what they're learning and excited to learn. And if they want to dig deeper in something, we can do that. If they're really not interested in something, then we can kind of shelf that for a while and then revisit it later when maybe they're a little bit older or whenever their interest peaks again on whatever that subject is. So for instance, I bought a science curriculum last year that I thought was going to be great. It was really hands-on. The science that we were focusing on was just something they weren't interested in at this point in time. So I went ahead and I put it on the shelf, and we will probably pick it up again, but we put that aside because they just weren't excited by it. Yes, it was getting done, and yes, they knew the answers to the questions I was asking, but there was no passion and there was no excitement behind it. So we went ahead and shelved that for a little while, and I got a unit on arthropods, which they absolutely loved, and it was super exciting. We got to dig really deep into it because they were interested. It is so much easier to teach someone something when they want to learn it. So much easier. So public school at home can be more of a pressure to learn quickly, test well, and then move on. The next big one is the pace that you move at. In public school, there's a lot of children in one classroom. So if one child is falling behind, the teacher can't necessarily spend a ton of time with that individual, in which case they may need a tutor or some outside help. When you're homeschooling, there's not a classroom of kids that you have to worry about. So if your child is struggling with something, you can really slow down and take time to make sure that they understand whatever the concept is before you move on to something else. For instance, there was a concept in math that my child was a little bit struggling with. They did fine on the test. They, did fine on paper and were ready to move on. But I, in my gut, wasn't comfortable moving them on because I felt like it was still a struggle for them. So we spent a couple extra days working on that concept. And then, you know what? Now he's really got it down, and I'm confident that he'll be able to move on. The same goes for if your child is really excelling in something. If they're really excelling in math or science or really fascinated with something, you can teach your child as fast or as slow as you need to for their specific needs. Another major difference between public school at home and homeschool is you decide. You're the teacher. Public school at home, you are getting a curriculum from your school. You're getting instructions from your teacher and assignments from your teacher that you have to help your child complete. When you are homeschooling, you decide what you're teaching them. It can be something that you are really passionate about. It's something that you can research and make sure you're presenting the most accurate and interesting information that you can, and make it really fun and exciting for your kids so that it's not dry and boring. And I'm not saying that all teachers are dry and boring. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are some fantastic teachers out there. I am related to some of them who are just wonderful. But unfortunately, that's not the case across the board. It's the luck of the draw with who's going to be teaching your kids. When they're at home with you, you know exactly who's teaching them and you know exactly what they're teaching. And the last point that I want to bring up is the relationship with your child. When you are the one who is teaching them and you are creating their curriculum, you're deciding what they're learning, you're presenting great books and literature, and you guys are discussing those things together, it's a really incredible bonding experience. If you do nothing else with your children, read aloud with them. It's amazing the conversations that you'll have. Will there be moments when you're frustrated? Absolutely. But that's the beauty of homeschool. If everybody's getting frustrated or overwhelmed, you can just take a break and play a board game, or go for a walk, or do whatever you need to do, because you are a mom first and then you're a teacher. So the relationship is more important than the grade on the paper at the end of the day. Yes, of course we want them to do well and excel academically, but it's heart first and everything else second. So those are just some of the ways that public school at home is different than homeschooling. There's so many more. And maybe some of the other moms will talk about this one. I don't know. I don't know what the other ones are. I can't wait to go watch them myself. If you like this video, of course, be sure to check out the playlist, because there's going to be lots of other myths that we're going to be debunking. My name is Faith and I am a homeschooling mom of 2, and I post videos about homeschool content for the most part. So if that's what you like, be sure to subscribe, because I don't post on a regular schedule, even though I try. It's usually not. So if you would like to see future videos, then hit that little button, and I will see you in my next one.